Tua Tagovailoa is entering a very pivotal year 3 for the Miami Dolphins, and he's not taking things lightly whatsoever. This offseason, we've seen countless videos of Tua working out with his teammates and just by himself with a personal trainer, and we're going to get into the work that Tua has put in this offseason and what this means for him and his success in year number 3. If you are new here, consider subscribing and dropping a like on the video if you guys do enjoy it. We are less than 100 subscribers away from 3,000, so if you guys are new here, be sure to hit that button. But with all that being said, let's hop into the video about Tua Tagovailoa and what he's done this offseason. Now, I would like to start off this video by saying I don't know if there's a more controversial player in the NFL than Tua Tagovailoa. If you go on any Instagram page, any Twitter page, and see a post from the NFL or just a completely random Twitter account talking about Tua in whatever fashion, you have tons and tons of replies making endless jokes about Tua and his time in the NFL. He's seemingly become one of the most criticized players we've seen in quite some time, and I find it really interesting that Tua really hasn't batted an eye at all the criticism. He definitely hasn't been bad since he's entered the league, but he also hasn't lived up to his number 5 overall pick and what many saw as a superstar coming out of Alabama. Some people have written Tua off and don't believe he'll ever return to that form, but other people are pretty optimistic that Tua will return to his Alabama form this year and really prove all the haters and doubters wrong in 2022. What the Miami Dolphins did this offseason to support the young quarterback, I think will go a long way in ensuring that he has success next year. One of the biggest moves this offseason that caught all the headlines for about a month, I'd say the NFL world was pretty shocked by it, was when Tyreek Hill was traded from the Kansas City Chiefs to the Dolphins for 5 draft picks, a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and 2 fourths and a 6th in 2023 for the star wide receiver. And this was a huge signing for the Dolphins because they have had some of the worst weapons in the league the last few years. They drafted Jalen Waddle in 2021, who turned out to be a stud. He broke the rookie receptions record and had 1,000 yards in his first year, which is pretty ridiculous. But outside of Waddle, as far as a wide receiver goes, the Dolphins really didn't have many other threats. Devontae Parker was really supposed to be their ex-receiver, but he was often out due to injury, and the Dolphins didn't have a lot of great depth on that position. So they really made sure to go out and acquire a lot of different pieces to help out that receiving core. They also went out and got Cedric Wilson from the Cowboys on a 3-year deal worth $22.8 million and $12.75 million guaranteed. And I like Cedric Wilson. I think he's going to be a very good slot player for this team. I think that's primarily the role that the Dolphins are going to use him in. Have Tyreek Hill as the X receiver, Jalen Waddle as the Y, and then have Cedric Wilson in the slot. I think that will be a very dynamic offense, and I think that's what the Dolphins will be doing most of the snaps next year. And that brings me to my next point about Mike McDaniel, the new head coach for the Miami Dolphins. They got rid of Brian Flores, who had some trouble bringing in an offensive staff and building around the young quarterback. It was rumored multiple times that Flores wanted to move on from Tua. He didn't really believe in him. The Dolphins brought in somebody the complete opposite of Flores. He built a very good offensive staff this offseason, bringing in a handful of very respected coaches, Frank Smith as the offensive coordinator, and Darrell Bevell as the quarterback coach, who has a lot of experience at higher up positions. And from his very first press conference with the Dolphins, he has had nothing but positive backing of Tua, and I think that will bode well for Tua heading into year number 3. And the last main point about Tua and his lack of support since entering the NFL is the 32nd ranked offensive line according to Pro Football Focus from a year ago. The Dolphins went out and signed Teron Armstead, who was the top free agent in the market this offseason. They signed him to a 5-year, $75 million deal, and the deal can reach up to $87.5 million with incentives. They also went out and got Connor Williams from the Cowboys and signed him to a 2-year, $14 million deal with $7.5 million guaranteed. So those are 2 new pieces to the offensive line. The Dolphins have poured a lot of resources into that unit in the draft the last couple of years. So the hope is with some new coaches, some of these young guys can develop into being some quality players, and we'll just have to wait and see if that comes to fruition. And lastly, about the Dolphins offense, they brought in a whole new stable of running backs. Raheem Mostert, Chase Edmonds, and Sony Michel really highlight the new additions to that unit. And San Francisco really used a running back by committee system. So I think the Dolphins will have a very similar approach next season, but all these guys are very viable options and they're going to have different roles in the offense. But the Dolphins are a lot deeper now at the running back position, have a lot more depth if 1 or 2 of those guys go down. And I really think the offense has a lot of talent and definitely the best supporting cast that Tua has had since entering the league. So this is really the year for Tua to show what he can do, if he can get back to his Alabama form, or if he's just not cut out to be a top echelon quarterback. Those questions are going to be answered this year. Tua has everything that you would want as a starting quarterback. I haven't even mentioned Mike Gesicki, who's also a top 10 tight end. The Dolphins are loaded on the offensive side of the ball, and things just need to be able to click, and Tua needs to have a good year for the Dolphins to have their faith in him to being their franchise quarterback. Now, all those additions are nice, but what is Tua doing to ensure he has success in 2022? Well, he is grinding his tail off, and we've seen countless videos and pictures of Tua working out this offseason, and it is very intriguing. Early in the offseason, we saw Tua working on his fitness, getting stronger, getting more stamina, and just working on his body, cutting down on body fat, similar to what Mac Jones has kind of done this offseason. But recently, towards the last month, we've really seen Tua ramp up his work with his new wide receivers, and that's very important to build chemistry, as he has a whole new stable of targets and players that he's surrounded with. And you need to hit training camp running, because once you get to training camp, you don't have very long until the season begins, and you already want to have some chemistry when you get into that portion of the offseason. So last month, we saw Tyreek Hill and Tua putting in work individually. There's a pretty viral video of them working out together, and that was really cool to see that they are really focused on building that chemistry. Tyreek Hill is one of the fastest players we've ever seen in the NFL, so I'm sure it's taking a little bit of adjustment for Tua to get his timing down with Tyreek, but I really do like that they've spent some time together to kind of hash out those issues, and I really do think we'll see that duo on display early in the season. And then just this past week, we saw Tua working out with Cedric Wilson, Jalen Waddle, and some of the running backs on the team, going through some of the plays on the playbook, getting it down before they head to training camp in a couple of weeks. Tua was in his helmet, he was in shoulder pads, and Dolphin fans really liked that Tua was simulating real practice and real game scenarios with these pads. And anytime you have a completely new offense, and especially one that can be complicated, it is a very good idea to go through some of the plays so you're not spending the entirety of training camp continuing to learn the playbook. You should really get into training camp knowing how to run the offense, knowing a very good amount of the plays, so then you can kind of work on the kinks of the offense, work on some of the issues that you have, the chemistry problems that I've already mentioned, and we will see if this work that Tua and the Dolphins offense is enough for them to know the offense and not be scrambling during training camp trying to figure out how this offense is going to function the first few weeks of the season. But I'm going to be very excited to watch the Miami Dolphins and Tua this year. I think they have one of the better rosters in the NFL, and they have a ton of interesting storylines with Mike McDaniel. He's a wild card. Is he going to be a very good coach, or is he in and over his head? Is Tua going to work out in year 3? Is he going to break out and become Bama Tua once again, or is he going to struggle, and are the Dolphins going to be looking for another quarterback in 2023? All these questions will be answered by the Dolphins in just a few months, and I definitely think at the minimum they're going to be a very fun team to watch and cover throughout the year. But if Tua Tagovailoa does fail this upcoming year, it is not going to be because of his lack of work. We will have to see how all this plays out, but I do believe Dolphin fans should be intrigued with the amount of work Tua has put in, and we'll just have to see if that pays off. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and drop a like on the video if you guys did enjoy it. Let me know what you guys think of Tua and if he's going to have a breakout year 3, or if you still have your questions about the young quarterback. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.